Hello everyone and welcome to Brick Cats. Today we're doing something a little different, which is why this is off the normal review schedule. And back in May for Revenge of the 5th, BrickVault announced that several of their model kits would be available from a company called BuildAMOC. I was pretty intrigued as to the value proposition and what kind of quality one could expect from this kind of thing, so in the name of science I ordered Inthert's Naboo N1 Starfighter, which is one of their smaller models. Now this is not a sponsored video of any kind, neither BrickVault nor BuildAMOC contacted me about this per usual, and I spent $115 plus $18 on shipping of my own money, and that was shipping to the United States. Now I actually bought this quite a while ago, and just haven't had a whole lot of time, but this package is still in its unopened state, so I have no idea what's in here. It's a pretty small box, about 6 inches by 3 inches by 4 inches. Obviously, this blue tape wasn't on here when it shipped, this is just to cover up my personal information, but it feels soft-sided and reasonably well padded. The plastic outer covering is nice, I guess. The contents shouldn't get wet if something spilled on it or anything like that, or if it sat on my porch in the rain or whatever. But let's open this up and see what's inside. Alright, so here is the box that it comes in. A little beat up, but that's not their fault. The shipping, I think this came from Spain, by the way. Let's see if we can see. Yep, Avenida Antonio Maraña, 12. I cannot pronounce that. Alcalá de Guadalajara, Spain. Okay, and this did ship with UPS, so that was interesting. So here's the outer box, MOC in the box on the front. Hey AFOL, we hope you enjoy building this MOC from BuildAMOC. And got some nice little tape tabs here, and then branding it on the outside. Alright, let's see what we have inside here. Guess we open this from either side. So here are all the parts. So the invoice just has my address and the order number, and then what I ordered, pretty much what you'd expect. And the parts bag. So it's all contained in one largish bag. There's a little card with the definition of a MOC. And oh, cool. Nice little printed tile. I was not expecting that. This appears to be... oh no, I guess this is UV printed. No, I can't tell. Someone who knows more about printing on Lego tiles, tell me what this is, but that's a nice little inclusion. I like that. It's a 2x4 tile. And that's a really good picture on there. So nice print quality. You can kind of see a little bit of the print running over on the edge here, but you know, whatever. Yeah, that's a nice little bonus. Now let's look at the parts. So mostly these don't seem to be in any particular order. I built this model before, of course, so I kind of am familiar with what parts go where. But that's fine. They don't seem to be in any particular... well, maybe. Not really. Okay, so all these slopes are together, so that's good. The larger slopes are together, that's good. Yeah, these are all kind of random. Oh, okay, it comes with a... what is that, R4 head? That's cool. Alright, that's a good piece. Some 1x1s. Yeah, okay. Well, these pieces all look in good condition, so mostly what I'm looking for here are like a yellowed out, light bluish gray color. Yellow is pretty good with UV damage, I think, so I wouldn't necessarily notice too much of a change in those, but if you ever had sun damaged light bluish gray bricks, you know they're kind of like, they turn the sickly green color almost. So Yeah, these all look pretty good quality. I haven't seen any that I think clearly would be used. So I'm not, I mean, they must use some used parts because you can't get all of these new directly from LEGO. But I guess you could potentially get them from Bricklink sellers. Okay, yeah, interesting. So my initial impression is that these parts are all in good shape. Obviously I can't tell if they're all here or not, but I'm going to build this. I won't put you through that, but I will build this and make sure everything's here. Yeah, how many bags are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Did I count that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 bags. 14 bags, not in any particular order. All reasonably sized. This is not a mist color. This doesn't come in traditional yellow, so this is bright light orange. That's by design. So yeah, first impression, these pieces all look like they're in good shape. I don't see any signs of damage. I don't see any miscoloration. From what I remember from the parts list, there were some hidden pieces that I recommended could be any color, but those weren't big deals. So I do believe that these are all the colors specified in the instructions, so that should make it pretty easy. So I'm going to build inserts N1 again and come back and tell you how it went. Okay, here we are about an hour and a half later, and I finished them all. And just to show what this is actually the new one, here's my other one that I built whenever I reviewed the Inter M1 to start. And I was really looking for basically any faults with the pieces, or sometimes mold variations, or really anything that I could point out that might be an issue. But honestly, this was really interesting how good everything was. There were no extra pieces, everything was perfect, so someone clearly counted. You can kind of see, maybe in the reflection from the lights here, that pretty much all of these pieces are really shiny and really good shape. The only two pieces that I found, actually there were three, so this, let's see, it's really hard to see, and this is actually super nitpicky, but this 1x2 brick right here, let me see if I can get it to reflect at all. You can kind of see that's a little bit more dinged up than the really smooth pieces next to it. So that was a 1. On the underside here, this piece is not in great shape, as you can see. This is just a soft rubber. Kind of looks like maybe there's some teeth marks on that. Ironically, maybe from a cat, but altogether not too bad. And then oops. This is a fragile part. And then there was a small nick in one of the slopes. Yeah, you can see that one right there. The other issue that I found was the cockpit was a little dinged up. You can kind of see a little scratch here, and then a scratch here. And I think the solution to that, I think this just got damaged in shipping, which is a little disappointing, and I think they could just solve that by putting the cockpit piece in its own little bag and keeping it separate from the rest of them. Yeah, overall this was a really awesome kit. I'm actually very surprised. The different bags that I went through when I was building this, they actually had some pretty interesting, I don't know if there was a method to the madness, I guess, but certain things are very helpful actually. So for example, inverted slopes and regular slopes, those 1x2s, they were not in the same bag, and I kind of kept them separate. So I poured out the one bag over here with the regular slopes, and then the other bag over here with the inverted slopes, and those were separate. And so it was really easy to not mistake one for the other. That can be kind of annoying sometimes. Another example was the plain 1x1 bricks were not in the same bag as the modified 1x1 bricks with a stud on the side, for example. So yeah, it's interesting to see what the division of pieces was. I'm not sure, with a smaller mock like this, well, I guess it does have over 100 lots, but it's easy for me to see that if they're ordering parts, perhaps they sort them all into individual bins or something like that. Yeah, overall perfect piece count. Again, this being a smaller model, it's not as difficult, but it's definitely not easy to get everything right the first time, and I imagine there's a quality check, or maybe a couple of quality checks, and that can be pretty time consuming and therefore expensive. So yeah, overall, really good job on this kit. I'm very, very pleased, and honestly, I was not expecting to be. I don't know exactly what I was expecting, but I was expecting used pieces. I was honestly expecting some mistakes, some wrong pieces, and then maybe an extra piece or two, or to be short a piece or two. But none of that happened. Very happy to report. Yeah, so overall this was a really good experience from Mock-A-Brick. So in October of 2025, I just ran the Bricklink algorithm on the plain vanilla parts list and the stand, and I was getting 4 stores and about $43 without shipping and tax, and that comes to about $70. And I paid, what did I pay? $115 plus $18 in shipping. Math is hard. That's $133. So that's about a $62 premium on this model. And granted, I don't think this scales well. They do have some rather expensive models on their website, but let's just take this one for example. So $62 for me to not have to order everything myself, to not have to deal with Bricklink sellers who send me crappy parts, to not have to verify that everything is there. I honestly think this was worth my time paying an extra $62 to buy a pre-made kit, and honestly I never thought I'd say that, just because of what I'm used to doing and what I like doing. But for those of you who will inevitably criticize the value proposition, like, I think there is a pretty good sized market out there for people who just don't want to deal with Bricklink. Honestly, I don't really want to deal with Bricklink most of the time these days, and so, you know, again, I don't think this would scale very well, but actually it might scale even better for larger models. I mean, I know what is their gunship, like $800 or $900 or something? That is a very expensive model, so yeah, maybe that skews in the other direction. But for someone with deep pockets who just wants to get all the parts and build it, you know, not a bad deal. Of course, you do have to pay for the instructions separately, which is kind of my biggest criticism here. I really think they should come up with some kind of deal where, you know, they distribute the instructions with the model somehow. Maybe they let you download the file for an extra cost, and they have some sort of cost sharing arrangement with BrickVault and the designer. So that's kind of a bummer. And really my only other criticism about this, the experience in general, was that it did take quite a bit of time for the model to arrive. I ordered it over the summer, and to be fair, I didn't read the terms very closely. And so like 4 weeks went by and I didn't hear anything, and I did send a customer support ticket asking, you know, politely what was the deal. And they pointed out that certain mocks take up to 5 weeks to gather the parts or to verify everything. And since we were only at week 4, that was fine. They did ship it out at week 5, and it took however long it took, I think maybe a week or 2 to arrive. So the timeline is a little lengthy, so Bricklink would obviously be faster. I guess you'd have to factor that in if you really want to build something right now. Then this is definitely not the service for you. But again, to have to deal with Bricklink, to sort everything out, to verify that it's all there. If a seller shorts you or there's a problem with a part, then you've got to get a replacement, and that can be a pain in the butt. The other thing that I didn't have to thankfully experience was the customer support side of getting a replacement part or getting a missing part. Let me check their website. So their FAQ doesn't say anything about what the process is for getting a replacement part or getting a part that's missing. I mean, they're a small business though, so I have to believe that they're gonna make things right. Whether that's shipping the replacement part to you, which would be kind of expensive, or giving you a refund such that you could get the part from Bricklink or something like that. But yeah, I think that I mean, definitely let me know if you have experience doing that with BuildAMOC. Be very interested to know how that went. But my experience with customer service was very positive. It was clearly a person that answered my question, and they were polite about telling me that I should have read more closely, which I definitely should have. So no experience with it, thankfully, because they did such a good job. But I don't have any qualms about doing that, or I wouldn't be worried about doing that. Going into this, I did not have very high expectations for this kit, and this is the first time I've ever bought a pre-assembled kit for a mock. That's not to say I thought it was going to be bad, but I definitely expected used pieces, either missing pieces or extra pieces, and a fairly run-of-the-mill experience. There were no errors in the piece count at all, which is honestly the most surprising aspect of buying this kit for me, and the time from ordering to when I received the model was almost exactly as described on their website. In summary, would I buy another mock from BuildAMOC? I definitely would at this point. I don't think their business model is aimed at people like me, but I 100% think there's a market for people that don't want to deal with buying and organizing pieces themselves. If the price premium for other models is similar to this one, I think it's fair. I might have thought differently if I had any of the problems I thought I was going to have. Obviously, the odds of an error go up exponentially as the number of lots increase, and I'm definitely curious to see how they handle retired parts that tend to be in rough shape. Thanks for joining me in what's probably going to be, after editing, a very disorganized walkthrough of my experience buying a mock kit from BuildAMOC. Let me know what you think about this approach. Would you ever consider buying a pre-assembled kit? Do you consider the premium worth the time and potential frustration of dealing with Bricklink? Do you have any experience with other businesses offering a similar service, and how did that go? Leave your thoughts below in the comments, and I will see you back next time.